Before we start, I'd like to address something. I understand that I am the one that has instituted the rule that I need to wear the same shirt that I'm wearing in the episode that I'm rewatching. But I can't wear the same shirt over and over again because it's embarrassing. This list was made out of randomness. What are the odds that 3 times in a row I'm wearing the same shirt?
Hello, welcome to the Wild View. I'm the Wild Viewer, and today I'm going to review a thing. Here's anniversary specials.
I purposely picked something completely different because I'm washing that shirt. It's not even the same shirt. I can't find it. I promise you, I have more shirts. I just liked wearing some more than others.
Hello, welcome to the Wild View. I'm the Wild Viewer, and today I'm going to review a thing.
Have you ever given a review on something and years later you wonder if what you said still holds up? Well, I have! Hi there, I'm the Wild Reviewer, or at least I was told that's who I am, and this is Rewild, a sequel series to an old review show I used to do called The Wild Review. It ran for 6 seasons from 2015 to 2018, and some of the things that I've talked about I have different opinions on, or maybe I don't. That's the whole point of this series. If you are watching this, then that means you are joining me on an adventure as we are going to take a journey into my past to see if what I said in a previous Wild Review episode still holds up. We're gonna make comments about how young I used to look and stupid I used to sound sometimes. It kinda depends on what I was talking about. So, unless you have somewhere else important you need to be, which I highly doubt, seems like you're gonna be taking a journey with me into the past. This is the Wild Review Rewild.
Wild like wild.
I thought the name was cool. Hello, welcome to the Wild Review. I'm the Wild Reviewer, and welcome back to another episode of Rewild, the show where I take a look at some of the old Wild Review episodes and see if what I said back then still holds up. I feel like I'm a little too high. Actually, this is fine. I guess it's not a horrible thing, though, if I wear the color blue, because today we're going underwater. Yay! We got another SpongeBob episode that we're going to be talking about. I don't know if anybody caught on to this in the first season of the Wild Review, but the main topic of discussion, the main thing that was kind of like a recurring thing I spoke about in season 1 was SpongeBob. The first Wild Review episode was Sponge Out of Water. Somewhere in the middle, I did bring up SpongeBob again. I know in the Nickelodeon video I talked about him. And I ended the season with an episode of SpongeBob, which I have never done since. But the reason why I ended it with this particular episode, the episode being Truth or Square, the 10th anniversary episode of SpongeBob, is because it was around this time when I realized what a really bad episode it was. Like, I remember being a kid watching it live, and I enjoyed it, but as the years went on, of course, I started thinking about it, and I realized the trailer was nothing like what the episode really was, which is kind of a recurring theme with SpongeBob. The same thing happened with Sponge Out of Water. The title and the poster and everything the movie was promoting does not happen until an hour into the film. And even when it's on screen, it's not the most interesting thing. Nickelodeon tried to hype you up with something that honestly was fine. At least they saved all the good bits. But I don't know if anybody's noticed that. That has been a recurring thing in SpongeBob media. Not only with the specials, but I remember there was a time where even newer episodes, I mean, they're still promoting new episodes, but it's just really weird. They have this whole marketing plan where they tell you the episode is something that it really isn't. I feel like I've spoken about this before, maybe either in a Rewild or a Wild Review itself, but there are 2 episodes that come to mind when I think of the marketing of SpongeBob. One of them that comes to mind is a generic episode. I don't even remember what it was. I think it was an episode that focused on a bottle, the ship in a bottle episode, and it wasn't promoted as the ship in the bottle episode. Instead, it was promoted as a big adventure to get the formula back from Plankton, who lives in a castle, and that whole scene is only 30 seconds. And they promoted that episode as if that's the most interesting thing about it. They lied to us. The other episode, which is also a big bother to me, and quite frankly worse than Truth or Square or some of the other SpongeBob episodes I've seen is SpaceBob MerryPants, which is not the name of the episode. Instead, it's called Goons on the Moon. There's a whole nother discussion when it comes to the title of SpongeBob episodes. Who Bob What Pants is also a big example of that. The promos are calling it Who Bob What Pants, but really it's called Whatever Happened to SpongeBob SquarePants. The train episode was also similar in that sort of way. The promos called it Mystery with a Twistery, and then it was called The Great Patty Caper, or The Great Krusty Krab Caper, which there's two episodes essentially called that. I think there's one episode, The Great Patty Caper, and then The Patty Caper. I don't know why. SpaceBob MerryPants, which is really called Goons on the Moon, was promoted as a Christmas special, and it showed all the scenes with Santa in it, showed the scene with SpongeBob as the moon, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. Is it the most outstanding Christmas episode ever since It's a SpongeBob Christmas or Christmas Who? No. It's not a Christmas episode at all. Goons on the Moon is about Sandy taking Pearl, SpongeBob, and a squid named Squidina, who later becomes a main character in the Patrick Star Show, and Squidward, who sneaks aboard Sandy's rocket. I believe that's what it is. Is it the rocket? It's either the rocket or her tree dome. Whatever the case is, they all shoot up into space. They get stuck on the moon. And Santa's there for some reason. They just threw Santa Claus in there. It's like, oh, this is where I go when I vacation. He vacations on the moon. Back on topic, though. We're talking about Truth or Square today. The 10th anniversary of SpongeBob, and how this fits in with the discussion I just had, is the trailer hinted at all these things, and it didn't really happen. You know what? I think we should just have me shut up right now, and we'll have my past self talk about this. This is a really early one. This is back in 2015. So let's take a look at what I had to say about Truth or Square, and also let's see if what I had to say still holds up. It probably will.
I've given my opinion on SpongeBob numerous times on this show, including the first wild review that I did when I reviewed the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water. And my opinion stays the same. I think Season 1 through 3 are the best seasons ever. The movie was great. Season 4 was an okay season with a mix of good and bad episodes. And Season 5 onward isn't that great. Though the Christmas episode they recently, well, not recently had, but the recent Christmas episode they had with the stop motion is pretty good. And I'll even admit that the two new episodes that premiered only a few months ago, Tudor Sauce and Lost in Bikini Bottom, I have to say were pretty funny.
Do I need to give my opinion on SpongeBob anymore? I think all of you know how I feel about it. I think we all know how we feel about SpongeBob, especially nowadays.
What do I mean by that? Let's find out. Let's dive right into the 10th anniversary special, Truth or Square.
Surprisingly enough, I've never truly questioned why I say dive right in. Like I didn't say it today, but in my wild reviews, whenever I would be looking at a film and I would do the cutaway bits, I always say, let's dive right in. And I never truly questioned why I started to say that. Until this episode. Is it a metaphor for diving into the ocean? I mean, my first wild review episode was a SpongeBob review, so does that have something to do with it? Probably not. There's probably no connection whatsoever.
So there are two different plots in the special. You deal with the SpongeBob plot, but there's also a Patchy plot. So, it's a tongue twister.
Patchy plot. Patchy plot, 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 plat. Alright, how many times was that? That was definitely more than 5. Should I say it faster? Patchy plot, patchy plot, patchy... Nope, can't do it. Patchy plot, patchy plot, patchy plot... Patchy plot, patchy plot, patchy plot, Damn it.
So the plot in the SpongeBob parts of all this is that it's the Krusty Krab's 11-7th anniversary. And that's the first thing wrong with this. 11-7th. What number is 11-7th? Are you trying to say 11 and then 7? It's 117 years old? Is that what you're trying to tell us? How old is Mr. Krabs? He's the one that built this whole place.
I never understood that. The 11-7. What is 11-7? Let's actually look that up. Let's look it up now. I'm mad. An imaginary number to be used when you have lost count of something and you need to verbally state a quantity. Let's take a look at this. How long is 11-7th in SpongeBob? SpongeBob SquarePants has been around for either a decade or 11-7th. What? Depending on whether you go by the calendar or by the irrational number thrown around in absorbent and yellow and... What are you saying, Internet?
Because it's such an important day, Mr. Krabs hires Patrick to be his bodyguard, so this way they can protect the Krusty Krab from Plankton trying to steal the formula, seeing on how it will be a busy day, and it's a perfect opportunity for Plankton to steal it, since Krabs will be distracted. And then we get a whole bunch of montages of Squidward lying on the job and Plankton's meanest schemes. Do we get any clips from past episodes from the last 10 years? No! We get new clips. And that's the biggest thing wrong with this episode. The way the episode is formatted looks like it's going to be a clip show in some parts, meaning that we would get clips from other episodes. But we don't get that. We get new clips, which kind of bug me. I'd like to see some old Plankton parts in new SpongeBob. That makes sense.
So this is still one of my biggest gropes with this special. Truth or Square is the 10th anniversary of SpongeBob. They acknowledge it both in the special with the patchy segments, and they acknowledge it behind the scenes. I guess the Krusty Krab having an anniversary on their own is sort of a way to signify that, yeah, this is a very special anniversary episode for a number of reasons. With it being an anniversary special, it is very typical for there to be a montage of what came before, and ironically enough, we do get that. But we get that in the Patchy segments. We get various scenes of Patchy the Pirate when he was on SpongeBob throughout these past 10 years, which honestly isn't even a lot.
So Patchy is throughout the whole special from beginning to end, and it actually kind of starts out with a montage of clips from Patchy from past episodes, which should be in SpongeBob's parts.
Patchy is only in the SpongeBob specials, and there haven't been super many of them. 7 episodes. You're showing clips from 7 episodes. Even then, he doesn't even take up the majority of the episode. He's in the beginning and end, which is probably like 2 minutes of the episode's time. The Sponge Who Could Fly, he was in a good chunk of it, because there was a little story going on with him also, and I guess he had a little time in Atlantic SquarePants. He wasn't in it that much. It's just really strange that the only form of a clip show we have is from a character who doesn't even have that much screen time. Like, it would have been great if we had some clips from older SpongeBob episodes to fit in with this anniversary special, but they didn't go down that route. Instead, they decided to make new memories that we've never seen before. We also never asked for them. Some of the flashbacks are cool, like the Krusty Krab commercial and the pineapple bit where SpongeBob gets his pineapple. That stuff is okay.
Along the line, we see all these characters get trapped, we see them go through dead ends, and we see some memories, including an old-fashioned Krusty Krab commercial, which is actually kind of cool, seeing on how we've never seen that before. And then we do get a clever scene on how a pineapple got underneath the water, which, you know, is pretty clever, and that's, along with the Krusty Krab commercial, that's like also another memory I guess is exceptional. Because we haven't seen that.
I kind of wish they acknowledged more of SpongeBob's past. There's really no justification if you're making up memories just for a joke base, like the Sandy and SpongeBob wedding. Did we need that? Why don't we just, like, why was that even a comment made? What was wrong with just showing all the time SpongeBob and Sandy had fun together? I don't get it. Now, even with the secret formula bit, you had so much potential to show all the times Plankton's schemes have failed. And you didn't even do that. You have a missed opportunity here, folks. Missed opportunity. That's what we're calling it.
So anyway, the real plot of this is that Patchy's mom drops him off at Nickelodeon Animation Studios so he can get SpongeBob to be a guest on his 10th anniversary special. And we end up seeing him and a guard kind of like have a little conflict, but then the guard lets him in, even though it's kind of weird that he thinks a cartoon character is real.
This is a fun fact that I recently just learned when looking back at this episode. The guard that Patchy interacts with is actually Roger Bumpass, who is the voice of Squidward. I didn't know that when I first watched the episode, and that's kind of because I didn't really know the voices behind the characters, but now I know. Now I know this because I recognize the face.
He finds a Rolodex, and we get the most cheapest and crappiest guest appearance ever by everyone because they only have one line. They look like that they're just sitting at home doing nothing or just doing their regular stuff, even though most of these people should be on sets, seeing that they're movie stars. And they have like one line, and I don't even know who any of these people are. I know some, but I don't know all of them. They're on screen for only a few seconds. And it's a shame too, because throughout this whole time, Patchy's not being funny. He's just being very annoying and a little creepy, seeing that he thinks a cartoon character is real. It's funny when he's at home, but I mean, he's around other people now, which is a little creepy. Anyway, so continuing on, after like 20 minutes or 10 minutes of the Rolodex, he kidnaps the late Robin Williams and kind of throws him into the green room, or kind of forcing him to follow him into the green room.
The Patchy segments are fine. They're okay. I feel like Patchy's just kind of being a little annoying in this one. Like it is a little strange. It's kind of weird how, like I said, we don't get that much of Patchy in this show unless there is a special, and in this one it feels like that they've been writing him too long, but really this is like his, 8th appearance? Do you guys know that he was on an episode of Big Time Rush? I actually thought that was pretty cool.
And we get a whole bunch of other pointless guest stars, including people that aren't even famous or kind of dead, and we even get Pink. You know, that band that shouldn't really be for children, but it's on the Children's Network, on SpongeBob, you know?
Pink. Pink's there.
But then we see Patchy on a boat, driving into the Pacific Ocean, then get eaten by a whale, and the next time we see him, he's living in the whale's mouth, and then we get a little history on how SpongeBob was made, which, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty clever. Then Patchy gets squirted out of the whale, back into the studio. He meets SpongeBob in a daydream, and Abraham Lincoln, who's credited as the guy in the penny, because Nickelodeon doesn't know who Abraham Lincoln is, shows him SpongeBob, and that's it.
It is really strange that they refer to Abraham Lincoln as the guy on the penny. I'm not entirely sure why they chose to go down that route. I would assume that at least some kids watching SpongeBob would know who Abraham Lincoln is. Like, it's not a horrible thing that Abraham Lincoln is just referred to as the guy on the penny, but it is a little weird.
And then we get more clip shows. And then there's a countdown to the next 10th anniversary, which probably might be a little crappier than this one.
Well, the 20th was something. The 20th anniversary of SpongeBob SquarePants, which was only a few years ago, like only 3 years ago, which is really interesting. I feel like it was just last year or 3 years ago. The 20th anniversary of SpongeBob was really interesting. It was a little similar, but not similar. I feel like that the 20th anniversary, honestly, was more of a celebration than the 10th anniversary was. And that's saying a lot. To be fair, though, the 20th anniversary came out around the time where Steven Hillenburg was back on the show, but this was, of course, after he had passed away. So this episode was also kind of in memory of him, and there were a lot of callbacks, there were a lot of references to episodes prior to this one, which is something the 10th anniversary should have had. One of the biggest ones, obviously, is David Hasselhoff. I did not ever expect David Hasselhoff to come back into the show, but he did. He was actually in the movie, so it's interesting how they're doing a callback to the movie when technically the film hasn't even happened yet. Assuming we're still going down this route, that the movie is what ends SpongeBob overall. This is David Hasselhoff's second appearance in SpongeBob, but chronologically his first within the story. This is also an area of SpongeBob episodes where the episodes that follow kind of are just feeding to nostalgia. Like, they're just kind of playing off the memes that have gotten popular online, and more episodes are trying to be connected more to the original fans that grew up with the show. They're throwing in little Easter eggs of things that have happened in previous episodes. So it's like really strange. It's like a whole different era of SpongeBob content. But this is essentially where it starts, because we have a bunch of characters return that haven't been seen in a while. Some of them are just starting to become recurring characters again. But the one thing that everybody, including myself, was kind of looking forward to were the live action bits that focused on the voice actors playing their live action counterparts of their characters. That's what Nickelodeon promoted this whole special to be about. And it wasn't that. That, again, was only the ending of the special. So the one thing I actually wanted to see was all the way at the end. I had to sit through Kel Mitchell as Beans. We got Jack Griffo. He hasn't been relevant on Nickelodeon since Thundermans. Not sure why he was there. Can I also say, like, the way that they do the live action stuff is weird. Like, they're animating the live action stuff. I don't understand that. Like, it just kind of feels like that they're filming live action stuff, but they're putting jump cuts to make it seem more cartoonish and goofy, and I find that really strange, but I really like the live action Krusty Krab stuff. I really wish we got more of it. I wish. Patchy also meets SpongeBob in this episode, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. Like, for the longest time, it was just kind of established SpongeBob was a TV show, and occasionally they would throw little jokes that SpongeBob is real, like in the party episode. That's just like a little throwaway joke. In this episode, like, we learn he is real. For Real Friends also does that. It's just kind of weird that they finally met. Like, I feel like they shouldn't have, but they did. There is a funny joke at the end of the 20th where Patrick does ask how old SpongeBob is, and then it completely cuts to black. I found that pretty interesting, because it never really hit you that SpongeBob's age is one of the biggest mysteries of the show. And I think part of that has something to do with the behind-the-scenes development of the character, because I know Nickelodeon wanted him to be a kid, but Steven Hillenburg wanted him to be an adult. So they compromised and just said, we'll make him sometimes a kid and sometimes an adult. He'll live by himself with his parents jumping in here and there, but also he'll be attending school to learn how to drive a boat. It works.
This is how the SpongeBob Anniversary Special, Truth or Square, should have been. First off, don't call it Truth or Square, call it Stuck in the Vents. I think that's a better name. Second, have what's going on in the SpongeBob episode, but get rid of all the creepy stuff, and instead of adding new footage, add some old episode clips. I think that'd be a great anniversary special. Keep some stuff like the pineapple going under the water and maybe the Krabby Patty old commercial. Get rid of the Sandy marriage thing in the play. Don't have Mr. Krabs walk off the set and then magically appear back onto screen. Don't have the Patty formula be shown. Have some more characters that were in the show have a big appearance in it. Don't give Sandy like one line. Give her like a whole bunch of lines. I don't know why she wasn't part of this. She's the smart one in all this. Have Plankton do his little schemes, but don't give us the same clip over and over again with him falling down the vents. Maybe the Christmas Carol was needed. I don't know. And maybe give us a number we can understand. Maybe have the Krusty Krab celebrate its 10th anniversary too. Maybe a little coincidence. Also, don't show us SpongeBob as a fetus. Please. Not in the mom's stomach. On the Patchy side, why don't we just have him throwing a party at his house for the SpongeBob cartoon that's playing? And yeah, not many people come to it. Maybe he'll invite a whole bunch of celebrities, but at least he won't try to kidnap them. Don't have him make a television special. Have him just be at home throwing a party. And that's it. That's all you need to make a SpongeBob special.
I agree. I think they tried really hard with this special to make it super extravagant, but they kind of missed the whole point. Like, if you never said it was an anniversary special, it just kind of feels like a normal SpongeBob special episode. Like it still feels like a special, but it wouldn't feel like an anniversary special. In fact, sometimes it doesn't when it replays on TV. They don't play the full extended cut of the episode. They started with Patchy's TV show, and then it just kind of goes through. They make it clear it's the 10th anniversary of SpongeBob, but they get rid of all the stuff with him at Nickelodeon Studios, and the roller decks, and Robin Williams. Yeah. I don't know why they couldn't do just that, though. Could have made it so much simple, but we had to go that extra limit, didn't we, kids? Patchy plop, patchy plop, patchy plop, plop. Well, my viewers, that's all we have for today's episode of Rewild. That's what I had to say about Truth or Square. I want to know what you think about Truth or Square now. Do you enjoy it? Did you ever enjoy it? What did you think of that? What did you think of the 20th anniversary of SpongeBob? And what did you think about what I had to say here, both back then and now? I think I'm asking way too many questions that I need to. Do you agree or disagree with anything that I've said in today's episode? Let me know in the comments below, and also leave me your suggestions for any other Wild Review episodes you think I should look back on and rewild. Also in the description below will be the link to this Truth or Square review episode that I just watched, as well as the playlist to all the other Rewild episodes. That's if you just get bored. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Rewild. I'll see you next week when I do the exact same thing, this time with a different Wild Review episode. Thanks again for watching the Wild Review on the Wild Review, and you just saw me re-review a thing. Re-review a thing. I've never said that before.
Wild like wild.